When a person initiates contact with their guides and fails to perceive their messages, it's usually because they make one of the three major mistakes to avoid. So in this sixth video of the Invisible Accessible series, I reveal to you what those three mistakes are and how to avoid them. So the first mistake that we often make is to think that we're in Hollywood. We think we're going to see visions, have ghosts beside us, hear very loud voices in the room or in our heads, while it's much more subtle. As for visions, it's usually more images that you see via the third eye. So that's why when I do a reading, I have the major part of the time my eyes closed, because I feel it's a bit easier to see the images, so you can have a few images pop in here and there, or it can be a series of images. And so that is called clairvoyance. And it can also be just bits of words or sentences that pops into your head. So it's not like hearing that very loud voice. It's like having this conversation with a person in your head, and the answers just pop up. And that is clairaudience. You can also have feelings and sensations. For example, when I read for someone who felt very, very trapped in a situation, I myself just felt so small, or sometimes someone who has difficulty to express themselves, I can feel my throat chakra being irritated or being squeezed, and then I know there's something to work on with the throat chakra and self-expression, and that is called clairsentience. And sometimes it's just a very deep knowing that you know what the answer is, and that is called claircognizance. And also sometimes it's not immediate. Sometimes we get delayed answers. For example, if you ask a guide, I lost an earring, can you please help me find my earring? Well, you might not get the answer right away. Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. So you need to let space for the answer to come, and sometimes it can be an answer via an ad that you see on TV, or a song that you hear on the radio, or someone that is walking down the streets and is talking, and you get that bit of sentence that gives you the answer, or just a flash and image that you get maybe an hour, 2 hours later, and you just know where you lost your earring. So this was the first mistake, is to think that it's very grandiose and it's like in those movies in Hollywood. Some psychic have those abilities and will really hear someone as if they were beside them, or see past loved ones, but it is very rare. Now the second mistake is to not meditate. Now I've talked about this in my latest video, my previous video, and so if you want to know how to meditate to communicate with your guides, you can go and watch that video. I will not go in much detail in this video, but it's really essential to open that channel of communication, and we want that channel not to be crowded with lots of incessant thoughts, and you also want to just open up that space and meditate in love. Love is what attracts the guides, and it's kind of the Wi-Fi that will allow them to communicate with you. I personally suggest to meditate. For me, the sweet spot is 15-20 minutes. I would say at least 10 minutes. Go and do some trial and error to see what works for you. Just to be in the right, to have the right brainwaves to communicate. And just today I was chatting with one of my clients who told me that she watched my video last week, and she tried meditating as I was explaining it, and it worked for her. She got much more answers after meditating. And I was saying to her, it's like, imagine yourself, You're outside on your balcony and you're trying to talk with your third neighbor. But there are kids around playing outside and they're screaming. There are big trucks in the street making lots of noises. The mailman comes to you, or the mailwoman, the mail person comes to you and gives you your mail and you need to sign, and you're so distracted and it's frustrating. So you're not in a good positive space and you cannot hear what your neighbor is saying. And all of a sudden you go, no, you know what? I really want to communicate with my neighbor and hear what she has to say. So I will go into my house and just go into one silent room and pick up the phone and phone her. And now maybe the kids are still screaming outside and there are still big trucks making noises in the street. And you can hear them a bit, but the sound is a bit farther. And you make the decision that you kind of mute those sounds and you concentrate on what your neighbor has to say on the phone. So for me, it's a bit of the same thing. When you meditate, you get the right brain waves and you commit yourself to opening up that channel and really be open and listen to what comes through. And now the third mistake to avoid is forgetting to be grateful. Spirit guides do not have a physical body, but they are entities, they are alive, and we must be grateful for what they bring to us. So personally, what I do is right at the beginning of the session, just the first thing I do is thank them. Thank you for all the help, all the guidance that you give to me. Thank you for being there all the time, for all the synchronicities. Thank you for supporting me in my spiritual development. And then I ask them my questions, I communicate with them, and at the end, again, I thank them, and then I just finish saying session over. So that's really, really important that they feel like they are helpful. Now, I just want you to know that even when we have bad days or bad periods in our lives where we are not that grateful and we are in negative energies, the guides are always there. It's just that for you to get that extra information and to pick up more and really have that extra guidance, that extra boost that you're looking for, it's important to have some gratefulness. And if you are very into requests and manifesting, there are many techniques. Personally, I suggest that you give back a bit in return. For example, at the very beginning of my journey, I would ask the guides, please help me to develop and hone my psychic abilities. And in return, I commit to meditating at least 10 minutes per day, at least 5 days a week. So that way you make sure that you commit, you show the guides that you are serious in your request, in what you want to manifest. And it just, for me, it's just a little give and take. So that's it. Those were the three main mistakes that I saw in my practice at the beginning and that I saw in others' practices too. And if you have other mistakes that you made when you began to communicate with your guides, please share them with me. I'm always super curious to know about other people's journeys. And as always, if you have questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram. If you're on YouTube, you can just write below. But if you want it to be confidential, I suggest you do it via email or DM on Instagram. And also, some of you have asked how it works for sessions with me. You need to go to my Calendly. So on YouTube, there's always a link at the end of my videos. On Instagram, you go on my profile and you click on my Linktree link, and it leads you to my Calendly. Now, that's my online calendar, and you can check everything that I offer. It can either be a session that is via text, via a pre-recorded audio or video. It can be live as well. So you've got all those choices, and you can see when I am available during the week. And I try as much as possible to have at least a few weekends here and there when I'm available too. So that's it. I hope this video helped you, and thank you very much. Bye bye.